Simpson.
Thank you, Your Worship. Look, I just want to remind everybody that we're not actually voting for or against these things at all. We're actually voting whether we go out to consultation on them. So I think I just want to be really clear on that. 180,000 people voted for you, and you've basically put together a proposal that delivers on what you promised to do. So no one can hold that against you. Things like homelessness, living wage, the 2.5%, whatever, those are the things that you went up and down campaigning on. But I'm also going to, and some of those things I don't agree with actually, personally, but it's not for me. It is for Auckland to feed back on those issues and let us hear what they think. I am just like to concentrate on a couple of things though, and the income side. We're very good at spending, but we need to provide other sources of income. So I'm very pleased that you have put in the visitor levy. You know that was one of the first things, the first time I sat down and talked to you, I mentioned it to you as an idea. So I'm very pleased that that's in there, and I'm also very pleased, and I've accepted the officer's apology that they missed it when they first put it up, to look at other sources of income streams to minimise impact on ratepayers. So I think, you know, you have shown the other side, for want of a better word, that you're looking at income generating things. For me, the success of your proposal and the feedback from Auckland is very much centred on how we present this information to Auckland. And I think there are a lot of things and ways and ideas that we have learnt from what hasn't worked last time. So I just think that conceptually it is what it is, and I think you've come to a good compromise on the rates, but you know, I'm going to vote for everything, even though personally I'm not 100% au fait with them, because I think Auckland needs to have its say. But what I'm really keen to see is actually what goes out to Auckland. How the words, how the diagrams and the information, how that's actually presented. It has to be very clear, so that the whole region can clearly understand what we have spent hours and hours and hours going through in some detail. So all the best.
Thank you very much, Councillor. I won't take too long, famous last words. Just to sum up where we've got to, look, the critical thing, call it an annual plan or a budget, they add up to the same thing. The critical thing we have to be around this table is fiscally responsible. We can't spend money that we don't have. We can't jeopardise the credit rating that we've got. There are 1,000 things that we'd like to do for the city, but until we've got a revenue stream, as Councillor Simpson has pointed out, we are constrained to only spend the money that is available to us. Having said that, and acknowledging Councillor Cooper's point that you do need to, there is a cost associated with any proposal. But I want to just make this point. One of the things that I loved about this city as I grew up in it was that we were an inclusive city. You know, I never saw homelessness as a teenager or a young man in this city. I see too much of it now. When I grew up in Mount Roskill and Papatauitohe, people always had a decent home and they generally had a wage that they could live on. And if they didn't have a wage they could live on, we had things like social housing that could cater for them. I'm seeing far too much poverty around our city. And somebody else made the point, and they were absolutely right. Poverty comes because wages are too low for some people and living costs are too high. And none of us who will go home to our homes tonight in the relative comfort of our homes can feel good about the fact that there are other people that are really struggling to make ends meet. And yes, there is a cost to the living wage, but there is a cost to not having the living wage. And that cost is, as Councillor Collins said, to deny hard-working, decent people the dignity of being able to live in the way that they can meet their basic needs. And I don't feel comfortable in living in a city where we can't do what is within our power to do to give people the decency of living reasonably well. And if that's not a hard enough edged argument for you, the fact is that more and more people that we require to work in our cities can't afford to live here. when people that are secondary school teachers in Mount Albert Grammar saying they're getting out of it because they can't meet the costs involved in the city, where does that leave the people who clean our offices at night? I was a cleaner for several years when I was going through university. I know cleaners work bloody hard and they do a job that we need to have. But are we really saying to people, yeah, we'd like you to be able to live decently, but actually that's not our priority? I think it ought to be our priority. And there was a prayer that I quoted at some of the meetings called the Serenity Prayer. You know, God, give me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And I know we can make a difference for the people that are struggling, that are honest, that are working hard, but we as their employers are not paying them an amount that any one of us would want to or could even live on. So yes, there is a cost, Councillor, I accept that. Yes, we've got to get those figures right. RFA said, I have different figures from you, but we need to have the figures that come out. But let's try to be decent, let's try to be inclusive, and in the spirit of Christmas, let's try to make this city a better city for all of our people. So thank you very much for the comments and the contributions that were made. I'm not, by the way, Councillor Watson, I forget what, aggressively pro-chemical. Belligerent. I'm rarely belligerent, but never about chemical sprays. We'll work through that and we'll make an evidence-based decision and we'll all contribute to that. I want to thank councillors for what you've put in. In the end, the mayoral proposal is my proposal, but in the end, you all have a vote around this table, so each one of you determines what we do as a council over the next year. And I thank you for the input. This consultation will be a good process. We need to listen to what people are saying, but in the end, we also have to make sure that we are responsible, not only to live within our budget, but where we can to do the right thing, and that's what I'm asking you to do. So this recommendation that is on the screen in front of you has been amended. There is a new other revenue stream, bullet point 15, seeking other operational revenue streams, and under B, we've got that the annual consultation document will look at proposals for rate increases at 2.5% and 3.5%, and obviously we will need in that consultation document to spell out what the implications are for moving in any one of those three directions. So the resolution has been...
Mayor Goff, just the resolution, the addition that Councillor Simpson put up, it just needs a couple of other words because it's to minimise the impact for ratepayers. The impact of what? Just needs another word or two.
Minimises maybe the need to rely on rate increases.
Yeah, the finance minutes aren't live yet. So what was in the finance?
I thought we had it right, the finance minutes. That just needs something else, minimise
of property rates.
Could I just suggest, and this is up to Councillor Simpson as to whether she accepts it, to minimise the need to rely on rate increases. That's fine with the mover?
David, have you still got the email?
I don't. To minimise the
rather than...
oh, look, I'm not going to hold it up.
Yeah, I think that captures
What's
the
in
essence.
consultation?
Okay, so that's amended accordingly. Minimise the need to rely on rate increases. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
To the contrary, carried unanimously. Thank you very much, councillors. Now, can I...
Order, Mr. Chairman. I wanted to see the whole lot at once because there's some I wanted to vote against, and we haven't had that opportunity. So I just want my vote recorded against a number of.
You shouldn't be walking.
Is it the...
Not too late.
Yeah, we can, if there are areas that either you, councillor, or any other councillor wants to vote against, we will note those in the minute at your wish. So can you just please advise Elaine through the course of the rest of the meeting. Thank you. Now, can I move to the agenda item? I'm